And so then, to tie that, our next step will be talking about how we can short circuit that if possible. But I guess then that speaks to our perception and the mental model, right? So you're looking for pattern recognition. You don't see the pattern, or at least what you're seeing doesn't fit the mental model that you had. So that signals to the brain, correct me if I'm wrong, that there's some sort of a threat, there's a change, there's something going on. And then that elicits that stress response, which could be fight, flight, or freeze. Would that be kind of a reasonable
Yeah,
kind of sequence?
yeah. And the thing about, so we are creatures who imitate. That's how we know. I'm sure we've all had this experience. You go to visit a friend and you look at his face and you go like, "What's wrong?"
Hmm. Hmm.
Something happened. I can really, I can feel it that somebody died or something really bad. Your girlfriend left you, or I don't know what. But we communicate this way constantly, and it's usually on a subtle, less dramatic level. But we read each other and we imitate each other. So if I go over there and my best friend is in distress, I'm going to be in distress too. And we all know this from experience. Like, let's say you're in the kitchen with your wife and you're cutting onions and she cuts the tip of her finger off. You're going to go, "Ugh," like this, and you're going to feel it. And so we all feel each other's states. If you see somebody injured, you're going to have the same reaction. So people who are first responders, firefighters, that sort of thing, um, you get a lot of trauma in your work because you're seeing people hurt, and it's innate in your emotional system to respond as if you're being hurt. And so this is part of, when you saw that scene, it was so shocking because you internalized it right away. And there's no getting around that except training and experience. And even that doesn't get you around it. It just allows you to act. And you may wind up, if you act enough and you're of a certain kind of makeup, you may wind up with PTSD as a result of it. But this is an inherent part of doing this kind of work. And the only way to deal with it is to train and gain experience.
And so with that, and it's interesting you should say that, because I've defined that, having been on hundreds of missions, Katrina, Rita, Canada's two largest disasters, list goes on, and I do recognize that somewhere during each incident, and I was a project manager for 10 years, so it was the same even walking into that, VP meeting. I recognize that there is that moment where it is that sense of overwhelm, but to your point, what I've learned just through experience and training is how to overcome that. So I think it's important to recognize that don't beat yourself up for feeling that way, right? Like that is a normal physiological, neurological reaction. That's just part of our DNA. And whereas a lot of people are like, you know what? I'm fearless. I'm fearless. Well, I think I'll call bullshit on that, because there's no such thing, in my opinion. It's about being courageous, seeing the fear and acting in spite of it. So
If you're
that,
not afraid, you don't appreciate the severity of the situation you're in.